They are cornered by a giant lizard, and Hank rushes to pull out a burning stick, but the lizard is cold-blooded and eats the stick as if it were food. Hank threw a punch at the lizard, which, in pain, went berserk and opened its massive jaws towards the crowd. Just as they were about to become a meal, suddenly, Sean's mother has remarried to Hank since his father's death was confirmed on the Earth's core expedition, but Sean is very uncomfortable with Hank, making Hank a huge embarrassment in the family. One day, Sean received a series of encrypted radio messages, and despite racking his brains, couldn't decipher their meaning. To improve their relationship, Hank helped him crack the code. It turned out to be a distress signal from Sean's grandfather, saying he was trapped on the mysterious island from a Verne novel. Following the clues, they found the coordinates of the mysterious island, and Sean immediately packed his bags to go. For Sean's safety, Hank had no choice but to accompany him, but when the two arrived at their destination, the local captains refused to go even after hearing about the coordinates they were going to, even with a high price of $1,000. Hearing about the heavy money, a captain named Gabato takes the job. However, upon seeing Gabatos ride a decrepit helicopter, both were ready to bail. Just as they were about to refuse, a girl appeared, changing Sean's mind. The girl was Gabato's daughter Kailani, but upon learning of their destination, she too was reluctant. Gabato quickly pulled his daughter aside. Eventually, Kailani raised the price to $3,000, and at Sean's insistence, an agreement was reached. Thus, they boarded the helicopter, embarking on this unknown journey. Soon after reaching the coordinates, dark clouds loomed, lightning flashed, and as they planned to turn back, the helicopter lost control and was sucked into the storm's vortex. When they awoke, they found themselves on an unfamiliar island. Seeing the storm circle ahead, they realized they had truly arrived at the island from the novel. They immediately collected useful materials and ventured through dark passages. The sight before them was astounding, a fantasy space with splashing waterfalls, mountains covered in vegetation, and butterflies as big as humans flying in the sky. Suddenly, an elephant's roar reached their ears, and upon closer inspection, the elephants were as small as puppies. According to the novel, the creatures on the mysterious island were the opposite of the outside world. The larger the creature, the smaller it became, and vice versa. Small creatures became monstrous beasts here. While they were in awe, Sean spotted smoke rising in the distance, so they headed towards it. They soon reached a strange area full of rocks, and Hank accidentally crushed a rock underfoot, lifting his foot only to find it covered in slime. They had stumbled upon a nest of giant eggs, implying the presence of a massive mother creature. Looking around, a huge lizard appeared before them, and they moved cautiously, but Gabato accidentally cracked an egg. And the noise woke the lizard, sending them running in terror, with the lizard in hot pursuit. Finally, the four of them were cornered by the lizard, just as they were about to become its meal. Several pieces of wood flew in and knocked the lizard unconscious, and their savior was none other than Sean's grandfather. Then Grandpa takes them back to his shelter, which has light bulbs made of fireflies, a hand-cranked elevator, an indoor bathroom, and a radio that can communicate with the outside world. To contact the outside world, they had to wait for the satellite to reach a specific position, which was next scheduled in 2 weeks. The next day, Grandpa took the group to view a miracle. Along the way, Sean tried to get closer to Kailani, but she was not interested in him. Barely speaking a few words, Hank came over to comfort and taught him how to get Kailani's attention.
Boom!
Soon, they crossed the dense jungle and arrived at a forgotten realm, passed through majestic stone gates, and came to the center of the city, where they moved aside scattered stones to reveal engraved inscriptions. This was the legendary Atlantis. They couldn't help but wonder, "Isn't Atlantis supposed to be underwater?" The grandfather explained that this lost city was indeed underwater, but every 140 years, it would emerge above the surface. Thus, it often appeared in the writings of some explorers. Just as everyone marveled at the wonders of nature, Hank noticed a large amount of seawater seeping into the city. The only explanation for seawater reaching so far inland was that the island was about to sink back into the ocean. Calculating the speed of the rising water, they had at most 3 days. If they couldn't find a way off the island within 3 days, they would sink into the abyss along with it. Suddenly, Sean remembered the Nautilus submarine, built by a Captain Nemo. According to the novel, the submarine was hidden somewhere on the island. Finding the submarine would allow them to return to the real world. But to find the Nautilus, they first needed to locate Captain Nemo's grave to retrieve his nautical log. Fortunately, the grandfather knew where Captain Nemo was buried and led them to the entrance of the grave. However, the grave was too narrow for anyone but Kailani to enter smoothly. So, Kailani alone crawled into the tomb, found Captain Nemo's skeleton, and retrieved the nautical log from his chest. Upon opening the log, it indeed revealed where the Nautilus was hidden, but on the other side of the island. Now, they had 2 choices. The first was to go around along the coastline, which was a flat route but would take several days. The second was to cross through the center of the island, though the mountainous terrain was rugged and inhabited by terrifying creatures. Due to time constraints, they chose the second option. Along the way, they climbed over mountains, passed through strange fern forests, saw giant man-eating ants, leaped over a stream, and even witnessed the spectacular sight of a volcanic eruption. But when the volcanic ash drifted towards them, they discovered it was all gold. Clearly, the volcano contained a vast gold mine. Sean and Gabato wanted to explore further, while Hank believed that finding the submarine was the priority. At the same time, Kailani also felt that they shouldn't waste time here. The two had no choice but to continue forward. After walking for a while, a steep peak blocked their way. Hank didn't know how to get over it, while Grandpa went into the bushes alone. The next second, he was sitting on a giant bee. In this way, several people experienced the fun of flying at high altitude, but unexpectedly encountered the natural enemy of bees, the white-throated pin-tailed rain swallow. Frightened, several people flew into the woods to hide, while Rainbird followed close behind them.
Hold on!
Kailani was even knocked out of the sky, about to become food. Sean controlled the bee to catch Kailani, then placed her in a safe place, and went to distract the Swift alone. Seeing a huge spider web ahead, Sean quickly passed through. The Swift was too big and got firmly stuck in the spider web. Then Sean was accidentally caught by a branch and fell, causing his ankle to dislocate. With no choice, the group had to find a relatively safe place to spend the night and treat Sean's injury. The father and daughter went to the river to fetch water. Gabato saw that his daughter had special feelings for Sean and thought Sean was a good match. Kailani felt that they had no future, thinking that Sean would return to the United States after leaving here. Although she also wanted to follow Sean to the US to fulfill her college dream, her family's financial situation did not allow it. Seeing his somewhat disappointed daughter, Gabato promised to send her to college. The next day, the rising seawater woke them up, finding that the island's sinking speed had suddenly accelerated. At the same time, Kailani realized her father was missing and then understood that his promise last night must have involved going to the volcano. So they split into 2 groups. Kailani and Grandpa went to the volcano to look for Gabato, while Sean and Hank went to find the submarine as originally planned, and then meet at the seaside. Sure enough, Gabato returned to the volcano and even found a nugget of gold, but the more he dug, the bigger it got, until Kailani found him. He still had not dug it out, and under Kailani's continuous persuasion, he reluctantly gave up. Meanwhile, Sean and Hank reached their destination, but the island sank, submerging the entire submarine. Hank thought of a way, making 2 diving lungs out of waterproof bags, and then the 2 jumped into the sea. A group of great whites swam rapidly towards them, but the sharks were like ribbons in size, posing no threat to them. Soon the 2 found the Nautilus, and as the 2 opened the hatch, a huge electric eel appeared, flashing with electricity and lunging at the 2, frightening them into the submarine in a hurry. Then the 2 reached the cockpit, found the power drive device, but pressing the start button, they discovered the battery was already old. The remaining power was not enough to start the engine. As the two were worried about this, the flashing eel outside caught their attention. Hank, wearing a diving suit and holding a spear connected to the battery, went outside the submarine, knocking continuously to attract the eel's attention. When the eel approached, he threw the spear, successfully connecting the power, and Sean started the power device. Just like that, the Nautilus, silent for 140 years, was reawakened. On the other hand, the trio made it to the rendezvous point without incident, and instead of waiting for the Hanks to show up, they waited for the ground to shake, and for the sea to instantly pour into the entire island, flooding Atlantis once again. The three of them sank with the island into the sea. At the critical moment, a steel beast opened its mouth wide and swallowed the three of them, thinking they were finally safe. But due to the sinking of the island, a large number of boulders fell in. Having narrowly avoided all, but another appeared ahead. Seeing they were about to crash, Hank quickly loaded the torpedo. And with a loud bang, the boulder in front shattered, finally escaping the peril. And it's a series of experiences that lead Sean and Hank to bond and accept the stepfather. Kailani took the initiative to show love, and the Nautilus became Gabato's money-making tool, becoming the most popular tourist attraction locally, while also fulfilling his promise to his daughter, realizing her American college dream. Of course, Kailani also ended up with Sean. On Sean's birthday, Grandpa gave him a novel by Verne, From the Earth to the Moon. Is this family about to embark on another adventure to the moon?